This is the House Hacker and Investor Happy Hour. I'm Michael Haas, part of HouseHack Seattle. We have a lot of expertise in the room. I know a lot of you are already investing in real estate. I know we got a lot of brokers, lenders in the room. I do want to just call out a couple of people that you should definitely look out for. One is Kara Rozansky here by the fridge. She is my go-to conventional lender. If you have any loan questions, big or small, definitely feel free to reach out to Kara. Another is David Weiser here by the camera. David has built a DADU for me as well as a lot of other people in this room and on the HouseHack Seattle team. So DADUs are a pretty hot topic right now. If you have any questions about what that looks like, definitely reach out to David. I don't think Brittany French is here, but we are also sponsored by Segarius Property Management. Brittany French is an awesome property manager local to the Seattle area. She's usually here, but we'll make sure to send out her info if you have any property management questions afterwards. And the final sponsor, Israel Lopez at Certain Lending. On the hard money side, a lot of you are taking down these DADU projects, development projects, flip projects. At some point, a lot of us have a goal of being the baller that is their own bank and is able to self-fund these projects and keep all of the profit for yourselves. Most of us aren't here yet, so if you're not there yet, taking a hard money loan for those type of projects is super helpful. Israel is a hard money lender plus a contractor and has just super deep knowledge about all aspects of real estate. So I'll make sure that everyone gets his info as well. So without further ado, I want to talk about who's coming up to talk now. She's a really good friend and she's a member of the HouseHack Seattle team. When I met her and her wife, Diego, they were just kind of getting settled in the city after adventures in van life, after adventures with their first condo purchase. And I was excited to work with them on getting their first house hack going here. Rachel's now a broker and is crushing it, working with investors, working with primary home buyers. She's been involved in a couple of DADU projects on a project management and design basis and is doing lots of super cool things. I think she's going to talk a lot about how she got started there. So there should be something here for everybody. And I'm excited to welcome Rachel Fleming.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for the intro, Michael, and thanks for everyone coming out tonight. Yeah, like Michael said, I'm pretty shocked. I was like, snow day, any excuse to cancel plans. There's going to be my husband and the team here tonight. So I thought it was going to be a private showing. And with that, I also want to say big thanks to my husband. Shout out. Without Diego, none of this would be possible in this house hacking journey. So thanks, love. All right, so I thought I would just jump in with kind of like societal expectations. I don't know if anyone can kind of relate to this. Growing up, I was kind of told it was like, you go to college, you get a good job, you work really hard, maybe you take one nice vacation every year, you save as much as you possibly can until, fingers crossed, you can hopefully retire at, the ripe young age of 65 to 70. And then look, you've made it, and you can just live it up on your piles of cash. And that was kind of, what I thought. So growing up, I grew up in Central Washington. I actually grew up in a small town called Sela. I actually just found out, I don't think Royce is here tonight, is he? I just found out our new team member, Royce, is also from Sela and graduated high school like 3 years behind me. So we just missed each other. So kind of a crazy small world thing. We had a Sela connection on the HouseHack team. My family, friends, I feel like everyone I knew growing up kind of owned their own homes and maybe they had a weekend cabin getaway, something like that. But real estate wasn't kind of thought or taught to me as a wealth building tool or as an investment. It was just yeah, you own your home because you want to be a homeowner, duh. So, since investing wasn't really part of my repertoire, unfortunately I wasn't one of those kids that parents were super into real estate, and then straight out of high school, they got their license and they just started crushing it some other people on our team. So I went to UW, I graduated in 2012. I don't know, some of you were probably pretty young then, but if you don't remember, 2012 was a pretty rough job market, not a great time to be graduating. I had a degree in psychology and I ended up getting a job in finance. shocker, I didn't like it. So 2 years later, I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like I got 10 days vacation. It was just soul crushing, honestly, after like the high of college to like the realities of corporate life. So I took a gap year. I spent a year in Sydney. I was an au pair. And then, oh no, 12 months came around and reality knocked at my door. My visa was expiring and I had to start over. So when I'd left Seattle, I honestly had no intention of coming. I was like, I'm starting a new life. I sold all my stuff, I quit my job. I ended up being like, oh gosh, I need to get a job. And I ended up getting a job back at my old office. It was the same company, a different role this time. So it was a corporate travel agent, and this time I was like, okay, travel is something I can get behind. This is a subject that I really love. The team seems great. I got a pay bump, and the company, I think they changed their policy. So instead of 10 days of vacation, I got like 15. So I was like, oh, okay, great. That's so much time off. So I was in that role until COVID and kind of passed, but we'll start at 2020. So COVID hit. At the time, Diego and I were living in his 2-bedroom condo in Queen Anne, and it was great. And it was great, well, he traveled probably 50% of the time leading up to COVID. I obviously went to the office to work. But like, everyone else, we were working from home. So we're stuck in the condo. We have a lot of time together, for better or worse. And, we kind of start thinking like, oh my gosh, like now that we're working from home, we kind of got a taste of this remote life, and it gave us kind of a mind shift. We were one of those people that were like, we're really gonna take advantage of this situation. We got a camper van, like right off the bat. We're kind of living nomadically for like all of summer. And at some point during this time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad enters the room. Just a show of hands, like how many of you have read this book? Yeah, it's almost everyone has. It's like the book that launched 100,000 real estate investors. So we read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We kind of find bigger pockets, and then we like go down the rabbit hole into house hacking, and we're just like, oh my gosh, our minds are blown. Like, we don't want to be like living this corporate grind forever. Like, we don't want to be living for our weekends. Like, we need freedom, and like, how are we going to do that? The first step to financial freedom for us, we're like, we have to tackle our biggest life expense, which is our mortgage. Okay, taking action. So Diego had bought his condo in 2014, yes? 2014. It was a solid purchase. It was like before Amazon came in. So condos typically aren't like huge appreciation marks, but this condo in Queen Anne, it did well for us. So we decided like we need to take action. We're sitting on some equity here. What should we do? We gotta house hack. So we end up listing the condo October 2020. To everyone's surprise, maybe our agents, sorry, it wasn't Michael, to our agent's surprise too, it sold in 2 days. We honestly listed it thinking like, we're gonna have to relist in the spring. No one is buying a condo in the city in 2020. So it's kind of like the universe spoke and made a decision, holy crap, we gotta get out of our house. We're not gonna have a place to live in a month. And so we kind of start casually searching, and by that I mean, like living on Redfin, like it's my job day and night, like one eye scrolling. Oh my God, this just came up like an hour ago. I end up finding a few spots, but we quickly realized like we need an expert. Like we're so in over our heads. We've gone from like owning a condo to thinking we can fix up a house and we're gonna build an AD, like what? We don't know what we're doing. So we head to our trusty Bigger Pockets and we find Michael. So we find Michael, and I think we were working with Michael maybe like a week or two, and then I found this house in Maple Leaf. So here's the Maple Leaf house. This was the Queen Anne condo that we prepped in 2 weeks to list. Very proud of myself for that. But yeah, so we find this house as a craftsman, kind of cosmetic fixer, but the best part about it is it has this incredible basement. And it's like, if you're a house hacker and you're into it, like basements are sexy. Like you find a good basement and you're just like, oh my God, it's like so exciting. So we see this basement, we're like, we gotta have it. Diego was a little skeptical. He was like, I don't know. I'm like, this is my hard line. I don't want to go above it. Thankfully, Michael pushed us a bit and made it happen. So we go under contract the day before Thanksgiving. So I guess like this has all happened in a month essentially. Okay, so between Thanksgiving and New Year, we're, we have a month to think about this. Buyer regret sits in. Diego was already like pretty stressed going into this. I was a little more like, yeah, let's do it. We can do anything, like I was like the cheerleader. He was a little bit the risk averse. So if you can imagine, like we are actually the day after we went mutual on the house, we get in the van and we start a month plus trip down the California coast. So we're in our van, it's freezing, it's winter. This was before we put a heater in our van. And we're calling contractors, we're talking to investors, we're kind of getting bids for this project. And we quickly realized that prices have gone up. So Michael was nice enough to help us with, running numbers while we're doing this process. And just seemed like our numbers were coming back like almost double. So we're freaking out. Panic ensues. Diego's got sleepless nights. Like he's usually pretty chill. Michael talks him off like proverbial ledge after proverbial ledge. Like it is a true testament to Michael's ability as an agent and skill as an agent that we actually closed. Because I think 2 days before closing, Diego was like pacing out front of the house like, oh my God, I'm gonna walk away from my Ernest. I don't think we can do this. This house is huge. Like it was ridiculous. So we do close. Michael hands us the keys. He leaves us. It's dark January night. We're in the kitchen. All the lights are off in the house. All the staging is gone. And reality really hits. Like we're like, oh my God, this place looks haunted. Like what have we done? Like this is terrifying. We are so in over our heads. Okay, so to give you kind of an idea of the scope of the project, like I said, the house was a cosmetic fixer. The previous owner was an architect. They actually did some really nice upgrades throughout the years. The house was actually raised 3 feet, so that's why the basement was so nice. But a lot of stuff needed to be done. So we needed to add a half bath and laundry upstairs because we were gonna be removing the laundries. That's where the ADU is gonna be. We finished out the basement, split our electrical, so we did everything, above board. We added a window, a sump pump. Wasn't in the plans, but needed to happen. Gutters, sexy, things like that. And then, all the kind of small cosmetic stuff, but the stuff that's more fun, like, replastering all the walls and painting everything and refinishing the floors. So that's what we were working with. Okay, before and afters. Okay, so this was our first project, and I know this is not amazing, okay? Like it is what it is. We didn't rip out, we didn't redo this whole bathroom, but we did it with our bare hands. And this was like, before we did this project, we were like, we are gonna DIY. Like, yeah, how hard could it be to refinish hardwood floors? How hard could it be? No. This was our first and last DIY of the house. Like, it was literally like patching holes and painting. We put up that beadboard, and then we're like, if we do this on our own, we might not survive. Look we have the support wine. This is a plastic glass. Like, it was dark days. But yeah, so we did that, and then we quickly were like, we're gonna leave the rest to professionals. The kitchen, ooh. We just refreshed the cabinets and put new countertops. That was about it there. This is kind of a big transformation. It's actually bigger than it looks because, like I said, like this place kind of looked haunted. You guys, the photographers took a lot of liberties, okay? These was all holes. You could see like the lath through the plaster. Like it looked like a war zone in here, okay? And you know, we turned it into this beautiful half bath and laundry. Again, more scary. Actually, this is the room we called the scary room. And I would not, like, the scary room door had to be closed at all times until this was finished. It ironically ended up being like one of my favorite rooms in the house when it was done, but up until that point, it was the scary room. Okay, so the big transformation, this was the basement. It's our living space. This was a nice, so we added the window here and really like let in a lot of light. The bathroom. They'd like started doing something and it was, you know, started in 1999 or something and never got finished. It's the bedroom. This was kind of the only part downstairs that was a little bit finished. Oh, this was a big transformation. This was actually like a workroom. So that picture is taken from like looking in here. So we kind of worked within this space and created this cute little bedroom. It's actually our office now. Okay, so before and afters are great, but this is just a reminder to never get caught up in someone's highlight reel because everything in between is super messy. You know, living in a live construction zone is not for the faint of heart. I should also remind you guys, this was COVID, like this was winter COVID. So we spent, you know, this entire winter in our Patagonias, like bundled up, masks on. We had contractors in and out of the house, doors, windows open, plaster dust, like everywhere. You know, temporary kitchen for a few months. We had no laundry facilities for 8 months. So our friends, we had some friends that were nice enough, we used them like our laundry mat, and I would go over there with my big bags of laundry, like I was their college kid coming home to use the laundry, and I'd like work from there. This was Diego's desk setup. It's actually 2 Home Depot wardrobe boxes, which actually is a very good height. So if anyone is looking for a cheap standing desk solution, it wasn't too bad. You can never sit down, but that's okay. This was like, I think this was maybe 5 days before we moved into the unit. So it's just like, things get wild, it all comes together, but there were moments that were scary. You know, like it's 25,000 decisions, like the decision fatigue is real. It's 100 trips to Home Depot in one weekend. You know, it's like, it's a lot. Okay, but we survived, we did it. Oh my gosh, look how cute and clean it is. It doesn't look so much like that anymore, but it is, you know, it's still holding up. So this whole project ended up taking 8 months. We stayed pretty close on budget. We didn't like blow the budget. So total it was like 120K. We got the house reappraised, and thankfully it came in high enough so that we could drop our PMI and get our mortgage down. So when we were all finished, the upstairs house was 4 bed, 2.5 bath, downstairs 2 bed, 1 bath. So upstairs rent, as you can see, covers the mortgage, which was what we were trying to do. So that was awesome. And then we actually live in the ADUs to this day. We made it too nice. I didn't want to leave. No. But yeah, so we live in the ADU. When we're not there, we could get around $2,500 for rent. So once we're all moved out, cash flow a little less than $3,000 a month, and that's not including kind of expenses and all of that. Okay, learning lessons. There were a lot, but I think these are kind of our main takeaways. Firstly, define your scope clearly. So it can be tough, especially if you are a first-time homeowner or it's your first time doing a big renovation project, to even know like how to build out a scope, like what's all involved. You know, like I didn't know like, I don't know what a cadet heater is. Like, now I do, but I didn't when I was getting in. Like, does that need to be in the budget? So a part of like defining your scope, I would say, is like leaning on your resources, like people like us, like we leaned on Michael a lot for trying to figure out like what our scope should look like. But you want to make sure it's really clear, that way when you're interviewing your GCs, you are comparing apples to apples. Because even when you're comparing apples to apples, it feels a little bit like apples to oranges when you're dealing with contractors. The other thing I would say is, if you can, have your contractors break out labor and materials. That way, you know, if you are doing things like purchasing your soft finishes like we were, you can kind of see where there might be some savings along the way. Permit properly. This is kind of a trust but verify situation. Yes. And then that leads nicely into our third, which is bake in buffer time. You know, it's nice to have goals. You know, for us, we were like, okay, 6 months. Like, we're gonna have this done in 6 months. The permitting issue pushed us back 2 months. It wasn't the end of the world, but it was a bummer. Obviously, it's like more carrying costs. We were like really needing to exit it because we wanted to have our renters on like a summer rent schedule. And also we were trying to take off and travel after this. And so it kind of put a damper in things that we missed out on summer travel. And lastly, communicate constantly. I don't think there's any like such thing as over communicating with your contractor. Being super clear, like I said, like having your scope in place, but then also just like constantly being in contact can make the difference between, you know, staying on task and staying on budget. So a lot of things can get missed in translation or lost along the way. You're telling your contractor something, they're telling the sub something, and by the time it gets out, it might be lost. So I would say weekly scheduled check-ins with the GC is a really good idea. Additionally, like if you can be at the job site every day when you get to a certain point in the project, like I recommend doing it. Like for us, we lived on site, so we could like pop down on our lunch break and be like, no, that doesn't look right, take it away, okay, fix it. So if you can, like be there as much as possible. And lastly, pictures, like they're worth 1,000 words. So I feel like a lot of times I would be trying to explain something to they're like this, and I'd be like, wait a second, I could just draw you a picture, and they'd be like, oh, yes, so pictures. All right, so our project finished August 2021. Immediately after, we took a 6-month sabbatical. So because we were house hacking, we had our renters covering our mortgage. We had furnished our place, but we hadn't really moved in. But we furnished it, and we ended up renting it out to some friends while we were gone. And this allowed us to take risks. So I quit my job, I quit my 9-to-5, and we took off in our van for about a month. We traveled around the US, we did some national parks, and then, you know, went traveling around the world. So this is just fun travel pics, you know. Okay, so since then, I got back from our sabbatical. I got my real estate license. So after this experience, I was obviously interested in real estate, but having done the full like ADU construction rehab process, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm equipped with the tools to help somebody through this process. And now I'm kind of like spreading the house hack gospel. I can't stop talking about it. Like it's anyone who has a basement that they're just like using for storage, I'm like, that's dumb. Do something in that basement. All of our friends were like buying their forever homes, and we're like, you're gonna be making money off that. So I got my license because I was like, obviously I'm passionate about this. I actually joined Windermere, but after a year of that, I saw Michael was growing his team and was like, that's exactly what I want to be doing. So I joined Michael's team. In the meantime, we picked up an out-of-state rental property. Last summer, we partnered on a DADU project, so learning a lot there. And On a not professional note, we did get married, made it official, so that was fun. And just like lots of travel in between, you know, not being tied, not having 15 days vacation. It's been really nice. And Diego's back to traveling again, so it's nice because I can, you know, join him on his trips occasionally, and we can kind of have a time of it. Okay, so today, like I said, join the team. I'm helping people build wealth through real estate, which feels really nice. The DADU project that I'm working on now, I'm project managing, doing all the design. Hopefully, fingers crossed, spring, summer 2025. So I'm hoping maybe we can do maybe like a HouseHack open house event there at some point. That could be fun. But yeah, I'm learning a lot with the new build process. It's very different from just rehabs. I've also started some design consulting and construction project management. I don't know if Marty's here anymore, but I helped Marty last year with his duplex rehab, and I'm actually helping him again because he's going to finish out his basement. So. Okay, so the new plan, you guys, we're gonna work, we're gonna buy a house, we're gonna fix it up, we're gonna rent it out, and we're gonna get some freedom. This kind of is a little happier than the last plan, a little less sad. And, you know, house hacking, it's not for everyone. It comes with its challenges, for sure. You know, it takes a lot of time and money and sacrifice and, you know, maybe your comfort. But ultimately for us, like, we felt like it was 100%, 1,000% worth it. Like, even if it were just for that 6-month sabbatical that we got to take, I think if you would have told us the year prior that our lives would be like that, like we would, oh, a year from now, you're going to have quit your job, you're going to have rehabbed a house, you're going to build an ADU, you're going to be traveling the world, we would have been like, that's nuts. Like, how could we possibly do that? So it's just really incredible how house hacking opened up and just changed our lifestyle so dramatically, while also helping us like launch our way into like financial freedom. Okay, and that concludes my my little chat. So I hope you guys kind of have some good nuggets and takeaways, and if anything, at least you can kind of see what just like how much your life can change in a few short years by kind of taking the road less traveled. I think we kind of had a lot of opportunities. Like, we could have taken that money and bought a really nice house in a nice neighborhood and just kept our jobs and paid our mortgage and took our 1 year, you know, vacation, nice vacation every year. And we didn't. I'm really happy. So if it's inspired any of you to take that jump, I hope, you know, I hope it goes well. And thanks again for coming out. I guess if you have any questions about what I talked about tonight, I'll be around. My husband is also here to pick his brain. He was there the whole time. He was along for the ride. So awesome. Enjoy the rest of your night. Cheers.
Let's take a couple questions now if people have questions.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Michael?
When you were getting bids for contractors and doing the work, what was the biggest surprise going from having not done a big rehab to doing a big rehab?
Oh, I mean, we went from never like doing anything, like we painted a wall before. Aside from just like the sticker shock, I don't know, Love, what would you say is the biggest surprise? I think, you know what, actually no. I think the biggest shock was how varied like the prices came in. Like, we had one, I think we'd reached out to like one group, and they quoted us back like $200K just to finish the basement. It was like none of the cosmetic stuff, just finishing the basement. And I was like, you know, so it's like we had that, and like we said, we did the whole project in 120. So yeah, it's do your homework, interview as many, you know, contractors as you can. It's a long-term rental. Unfurnished, yeah. It's actually like a group of like 4 grad students, and you know, they've moved in and they've kind of just rotated and brought in a new person, and so it's been really nice. Actually, Rach and Logan stayed in our spot. We were just in Miami for 3 months, and we were able to do that because we could rent out our house. And yeah, they were just there. We were talking about how we never see the renters. Like, I think a lot of people are deterred by house hacking. They're like, I don't want to share my space. Like, I want my privacy. Like, we never see our renters. We also live below our renters, and it's really, you know, it's not a big deal.
They dog sit for you?
They don't dog sit. We try not to, you know, cross it. I've thought about it because they're like, oh, your doggy's cute. And I'm like, I don't know if we want to breach that. We do have amazing neighbors that dog sit for us. All of our neighbors are incredible. So yeah.
How do you deal with the noise? Is there any noise issues when you're downstairs?
There's some noise transfer. So the floors upstairs, when we had them refinished, they did they're hardwoods. There's like some squeaking. I will say, like, we wish we would have done better insulation, just to kind of dampen the noise a little bit. There are things we could have done. Like, I think you can get these kind of like metal, maybe David, maybe you know what these things are, these like metal things that run through it, and so they absorb the noise. We didn't do that because we were going budget. But yeah, it's really not too big of a deal. We also have 4 kind of small women living up there, and they're very quiet. You know the second there's a boy in the house. Like, you do. Like, there's like the octave of their, like, it's like vibrating through the HVAC. It's like thump, thump, thump. We're just like, oh my God. So we chose our tenants wisely.
What's your like 5-year plan? Do you plan to stay here? Do you plan to like move out, rent it out? Do you plan to sell it, buy any property, do the same thing? Like, what do you foresee yourself doing?
Yeah, 5-year plan. We're hopefully this year. We've been thinking about, oh, we're gonna get a new house hack, but then like life has happened. We've bought other properties and partnered on other ones, and we got married and went to 1,000 destination weddings. So that really took a hit on the savings. But no, our 5-year plan, I think we want to we're definitely keeping this property. Probably we'll be moving out in the next year, and I think we'll probably leave it furnished and rent it out as a midterm rental. Right now, the DADU project that we're working on has a single family there right now. We're renting that as a midterm rental, and it's doing really well. So yeah, we'll probably do that, and then hopefully we'll get another house hack. Maybe we'll try a flip. We want to do our own DADU project that we're not partnered with someone on.
So I'm not sure if it's like a room by room on the main level house, but is there any rules or like kind of best practices when you're doing that to furnish the shared spaces and leave the bedrooms unfurnished, or you just unfurnish everything? You say, hey, whatever you guys want right now.
Yeah, we did it all on one lease, so we aren't renting by the room. This group of girls were kind of already together, and they're like, hey, we want to rent this. That would be kind of a good idea, to kind of furnish the living space, I guess. I think that would be a good idea if you were renting by room, but we're not doing that. And yeah, we've kept them on a single lease, and it's made things a little easier so we don't have 4 different leases that we're managing. And then that way, if one of the girls wants to move out, they're still paying full rent. It's up to them to kind of find someone to replace, or they don't need to find someone, they just have to keep paying rent.
You had mentioned that you are doing a partnership on your DADU project. Mm-hmm. So I was curious, what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I'm working with a guy named Eric Yu, and Eric used to be on our team. So Eric decided he wants to start getting into developing. He's had a lot of people come to him saying like, hey, Eric, because he's like a YouTube channel and stuff. They're like, hey, Eric, I have a bunch of money. I want to get into real estate, but I want to be hands-off. So essentially it's like they have like capital partners who are willing to, kind of front a big amount of cash and partnering on a project. So Eric we started working together. I was helping him kind of project manage one of his things. And the way that we did it is we partnered on this. We're like equal percentage in. Like financially, and then we have a big capital partner that's another percentage in, and then we're gonna like divide the earnings once we're done selling. Thanks, guys.